Have you ever felt small in the face of life, as if everything demanded a strength from you that you're not sure you even have? Nietzsche, one of the most provocative philosophers in history, has no pity for you. In fact, he would say that if you're not strong, you don't deserve to be anything. That's the brutality of Nietzschean thought. There's no room for excuses, no comfort. There's only strength or the lack of it. But what kind of strength is this? Physical, emotional, moral? Nietzsche speaks of a deeper strength, the strength to exist with intensity, to create your own values, to stare chaos in the eye and respond with creative power. In this video, we'll dive into the most uncomfortable and liberating philosophy of the 19th century. You'll understand why Nietzsche despised compassion, victimhood, and traditional morality. And more importantly, you'll discover how to apply this raw and courageous philosophy to your own life. Before we begin, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and comment below. Do you think you're living with strength or just enduring the world? Nietzsche was never afraid to make people uncomfortable. On the contrary, he believed discomfort was necessary to awaken consciousness, and few ideas cause more discomfort than this central thought of his philosophy. Be strong or be nothing. That's not a literal quote, but a brutal summary of his view on life. But what did Nietzsche mean by that? For him, existence has no pre-established meaning. God is dead, and with him, the comfort of absolute truths. The world is chaos, and in that chaos, you either find the strength to create your own path, or you'll be swallowed by it. To be weak, in Nietzsche's eyes, is to give up on life. This view stems from his critique of Western tradition, which for centuries promoted the idea that we must be humble, submissive, compassionate. For Nietzsche, this morality, especially Christian morality, was created by the weak to dominate the strong, a revenge mechanism of the resentful. That's why he flips the values. To be strong is no sin. To be ambitious, bold, creative, that's virtue. And the weak are those who can't handle their own freedom, who prefer to hide behind rules and dogmas rather than face the responsibility of existence. And here comes the shock. Nietzsche forces us to face the question we avoid every day. Am I being strong or just protecting myself from life? If that question has ever made you uneasy, the next chapter will shake your ground. We'll talk about the will to power, the invisible force behind every choice we make, even the ones we don't understand. Nietzsche believed there is a fundamental force that drives everything in existence, and it's not the pursuit of happiness, as many believe, nor is it the desire for safety or belonging. For him, what drives every human being is the will to power, der Wille zur Macht. But what is this will to power? It's not power in the political or material sense. It's something much deeper. It's life's natural impulse to grow, to assert itself, to expand its influence. It's the desire to surpass oneself, to transform the world and oneself. An artist creating a bold piece of work is expressing the will to power. An entrepreneur taking risks to innovate is too. Even someone reinventing themselves after a fall is manifesting this force because they chose not to be defined by defeat. Nietzsche saw this as the true meaning of life. Constant self-overcoming. The will to power is the energy that pushes us beyond conformity, passivity, mediocrity. It is the opposite of resentment, that emotional poison that makes us blame others for our failures. And here's the provocation. If you're living a life that doesn't challenge your limits, doesn't demand courage, doesn't force you to grow, then you are denying your will to power. You're betraying the most essential impulse of existence. Nietzsche is not saying life will be easy. He's saying it's only worth living if it's intense, if it's lived with creative courage. Otherwise, as he wrote, I'd rather be a man than a saint. In the next chapter, we'll touch on an even more sensitive wound, Nietzsche's critique of compassion. Get ready, because maybe everything you thought was a virtue, he called weakness. Nietzsche didn't hold back when it came to attacking traditional morality, especially that inherited from Christianity. For him, many of the values we consider noble, such as humility, charity, sacrifice, and especially compassion, are just strategies the weak use to survive in a world of stronger forces. But how could compassion be a mistake? Nietzsche saw compassion as a feeling that, instead of lifting people up, drags them down. Instead of encouraging overcoming, it often perpetuates weakness. To him, when you pity someone and try to spare them suffering, you are, consciously or unconsciously, preventing them from growing through pain. Of course, he wasn't against solidarity or mutual help. What he criticized was the kind of compassion that infantilizes, that prevents autonomy, that turns suffering into identity. Nietzsche saw in this a mechanism of control, a way to keep people docile, submissive, dependent on moral and religious systems. This idea is strongly presented in his work on the genealogy of morality, where he describes two kinds of morality: master morality and slave morality. Master morality is born from life affirmation, courage, strength, creation. Slave morality comes from resentment, fear, the denial of others' power. And according to Nietzsche, modern society is dominated by this slave morality, where weakness has become a virtue and strength a sin. So when he says, "have no compassion," what he really means is, don't use others' pain as an excuse to deny your own strength. Don't accept suffering as an end, but as a means of transformation. This vision is harsh, it's uncomfortable, but it also frees, because it takes you out of the victim position and places you as the creator of your destiny. And that brings us to the next point. How does all this translate into real life? How can you live this philosophy daily without becoming a tyrant or a selfish person? When we hear Nietzsche talk about strength, it's easy to imagine warriors, ruthless leaders, or historical figures who impose their will on the world. But the strength he refers to is not just in grand gestures, it's also in the small, everyday acts of courage. Being strong for Nietzsche is living without masks. It's having the courage to be who you are, even if that means going against expectations, traditions, or others' opinions. It's taking the risk of living an authentic life, even at the risk of failing or being rejected. Here are some practical examples of this strength. When you say no to something everyone passively accepts because it violates your values. When you face a crisis without hiding behind excuses or blaming others. When you choose to create an idea, a business, a relationship, even knowing you might fail. This strength also shows up in the discipline to grow. Nietzsche believed excellence doesn't come from comfort, but from confrontation. You have to look in the mirror and see your own limitations, vices, fears, and still move forward. And more, strength is also the ability to endure loneliness. Nietzsche said that the most powerful spirits often walk alone because the price of freedom is often misunderstanding. Most people prefer to belong than to be awake. So it's not about arrogance or coldness. It's about a radical commitment to life, to your creative power. In the end, to be strong in Nietzsche's way is to live like an artist of your own existence, to shape yourself like a living sculpture, and never accept a life shaped by others. What if life is too much, the burden too heavy, and the strength doesn't come? That's where the deepest, most dangerous part of Nietzsche's thought comes in. Nietzsche never promised comfort. His philosophy is a call to greatness, but also a warning. Those who can't bear the weight of freedom risk falling into the abyss. In his works, he speaks of the concept of the Übermensch, the overman, or the beyond man, not as a biologically superior being, but as someone who has overcome imposed morality, who has created their own values and lives with creative intensity. That's the Nietzschean ideal, to become who you are to the fullest. But the path there is lonely, harsh, and often despairing, because before reaching the Overman, we go through a critical stage, nihilism. It's the moment when all old values collapse, and we realize the world has no given meaning, only the meaning we choose to create. This is where many give up. This is where many stare into the abyss and feel it stare back. Nietzsche knew not everyone would cross this existential desert. Not everyone would be strong enough. And this is the most brutal part of his philosophy. There are no guarantees, no universal redemption. Strength is a choice, and also a risk, but there's beauty in that. Because this philosophy, as harsh as it seems, is also deeply empowering. It says, you are free, you can transform your life. You can break what holds you back, but no one will do it for you. Nietzsche's final message isn't cruelty, it's challenge, it's provocation. He doesn't want to destroy you, he wants you to rise. Conclusion, the courage to be strong. Nietzsche and the art of becoming who you are. Nietzsche's philosophy isn't a happiness manual. It's a call to intense living, to radical authenticity, and to the courage to be who you are. Even when that means walking alone, questioning everything, and rebuilding from scratch. He doesn't romanticize pain, but he doesn't spare us from it either, because pain is part of the creative process. And for Nietzsche, to live is to create, to overcome, to refuse a mediocre existence when you have the power to shape something grand. True strength in this sense is not the absence of suffering. It's the ability to use suffering as raw material for growth. It's turning scars into symbols of empower. So I leave you with 3 Nietzschean questions to reflect on and live by. What in me still obeys values that are not mine? How can I turn the pain I carry into creative strength? If no one were watching, who would I dare to be? Nietzsche might judge you as weak, but he also offers you a chance at strength. He points you to the abyss, but shows you that you can cross it and come out the other side as a world creator. Be strong or be nothing. But above all, become who you are. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and share it with someone who needs a jolt of clarity. Comment below, what part of Nietzsche's philosophy challenged you the most today? And of course, subscribe for more philosophical deep dives like this one. Philosophy might hurt, but it's the pain that heals. See you in the next reflection.